Because mammals have a closed circulatory system and the blood is confined to vessels, this is what allows the pressure to be maintained and regulated. So this is one important advantage of having a closed circulatory system. When we talk about pressure, we have pressure in different parts of this system. So it's not just pressure in the arteries or in the veins or in the heart. So the pressure in the ventricles is going to be different from the pressure in the atria. The atrial pressure, or the pressure in the atria, is always relatively low because the walls of the atrium are thin and they do not create much force when they contract. Of course, we have a rise in pressure in the atria when we have atrial systole, for example. So we have a peak in pressure. However, it will directly drop when the atrioventricular valve will close and the atrium will relax. And then it will rise again when the atrium is filling with the blood from the veins. So we have a gradual buildup of pressure until again we have a slight drop when the atrioventricular valves open, so blood moves into the ventricles. And after that again comes the peak when the atria contract in order to completely empty the atrium of blood. This is during atrial systole, and then the cycle repeats. Now, ventricular pressure, so the pressure in the ventricles, will start low and it will gradually increase as the ventricle is being filled with blood as the atria contract. And then the left atrioventricular valve will close, which will then cause pressure to rise, and the walls of the ventricle will contract. This is when we have ventricular systole. And here we have a rise in pressure. This is when blood is forced into the aorta past the semilunar valves. Once this happens, once the ventricle is going to become empty, the pressure will go down again and the walls of the ventricle will relax. As for aortic pressure, which is the pressure in the aorta, it will rise during ventricular systole because the ventricles contract, filling the aorta with blood, so we have a rise in pressure, but it will gradually fall because of the elasticity of this wall. So the wall has a lot of elastic fibers, as we've seen. So once it fills with blood, it will recoil back and absorb this pressure because of this elasticity. This recoil will cause a temporary rise in pressure at the start of the relaxation phase, but it will then lead to the lowering of the pressure. A concept I want to discuss is cardiac output. It is the volume of blood pumped by one ventricle in 1 minute. It is measured in cubic decimeters per minute, and it depends on two factors. First, the heart rate, and second, the stroke volume. The cardiac output is actually calculated by multiplying the heart rate and the stroke volume. The heart rate is the rate at which the heart beats, so how many beats we have per minute, and the stroke volume is the volume of blood that is pumped out at every heartbeat.